hi, my name is Anthony. I'm a 3D artist, and today I just wanted to talk about product renderings and how I would go about rendering bottles, because I think there's a lot of hidden techniques that many people don't know about. So yeah, I just want to share them with you today, and I hope you enjoy the video. Pretty much what I did one render where I didn't use those tips. Like, to be honest, I also on purpose did some mistakes here just to better elaborate. But then later on I used those tips and tricks in order to create this render. And yeah, this video is just a small walkthrough of some details that I feel like are important when it comes to this particular render. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So first of all, let's look at the negatives and the bad aspects of this one. The first thing I really don't like, and as I said, I kind of did it on purpose, but it's the really flat lighting on here. Like, you can see exactly where the area light was placed, and that is something that like really makes it obvious that it's a 3D render, not a real object. Yeah, really flat lighting is not good. You should really try to avoid it, these very harsh lines. There's a couple of ways to do this, which we're going to talk about. But yeah, another thing I noticed is the flat areas like this. This really doesn't look nice because there's not a lot of information for the viewer, and that's just not realistic. Like, in the real world, there's always, no matter where you look, there's always something going on, even if you don't notice it. And so we really want to try to avoid areas like these. And again, there's fixes for that are super easy to do, that we're going to talk about. And yeah, those are like pretty much the main issues I have. Also, I think the lighting in general isn't that nice because yeah, it just doesn't look very nice and pleasing. Like, as a viewer, I don't really get excited about this object, about this product. It doesn't really look at all interesting. And so, as I said, there's a bunch of things we can do to easily level this up. And so I would say let's get right into them. Here's the final result of what I did afterwards. And the first thing I really want to talk about is the gradient in the background. Pretty much all it is this area light over here. So one thing I super strongly recommend for bottles is that you have a light right behind the bottle, or like an image plane with like a nice texture that just breaks up this super flat nothingness of the liquid and of the bottle. If I turn it off, you can see now it looks kind of weird. Like, we still have some details in here from the other lights, but it's way too dark. It doesn't look very pleasant. And by using this gradient over here, we make it really pop, and it just looks much nicer. As I said, it doesn't have to be a gradient. Like, let's for example just try it out to use a noise texture. And I just remove some of the noise, and you can already see we get a lot of detail. Like, it's way too big scale, but something like this, for example, it's not perfect, you would have to tweak it, and maybe we can go through some variations here. But as you can see, this really helps like emphasize the bottle, you know. Like, if I turn up the strength as well, we kind of get a much nicer result. I still prefer the gradient for this particular example, but yeah, just so you know, you can do anything you want. As long as you kind of make the liquid more, or not just the liquid, but also the whole bottle, give it more shape. Like, we have this really nice gradient now, whereas before we just had this super flat, weird area. And this really helps and make it look more engaging and nice. The way I set the light up, because if I just use default settings, let me just remove everything I did, it looks like this, which is okay, but not what we want, because now we have this super bright edge over here. It's lighting our floor. So the thing you have to do for this one particularly, I only left on transmission. So in my object properties over here, I turned off ray visibility for camera, diffuse, and glossy to get rid of the edges, and so that only the floor is visible. And also, let me just rewind here. I only have the group, the Heineken beer collection, in here, and everything else is turned off. Because one issue I had was with the drops, that if they're turned on as well, then they were super white, and I didn't really like that at all. So I dropped them in here and removed this tick mark, meaning disabled. And now they're looking much more normal and giving more contrast to the shape as well. So yeah, that's how you set this up. I really recommend it to use this area light if you do stuff like this. Super powerful. The next one I have is also kind of hidden. I only know this because I use Cinema 4D and Redshift. There might be an easier way for this that I just don't know in Blender. But basically what this is a sphere light. And I just use an icosphere with emission, basically. It's not really an HDRI, but it's kind of at the same time an HDRI that works slightly different. So pretty much if I turn on my camera, because I turned off a bunch of stuff and only used diffuse and glossy because that's what I care about. If I turn on the camera, you can see this is what it looks like. And it looks like, what are you doing? Like, it looks super random. But actually, if I turn it off, you can see there's a bunch of detail missing on the cap and on this edge. Like, if you look at those particularly, you can see that it removes a lot of the like details in the lighting. And the whole purpose of this is basically to add more natural and random lighting to it. Because, of course, you can do it with like area lights. If you really want to have perfectly specific lighting, like if you want to have the total control of it, you can do that, of course. But in my case here, I just wanted a small accent, like small additional detail lighting that just adds more depth to the whole thing. And at the same time, the purpose is also to fill areas that would be fully black, because you want to really avoid those. Pretty much never want fully black or fully white areas. And so yeah, up here you can see the bottle cap. If I turn it off, it's fully black, which we don't want. And by using this, I can make it more bright and add that, yeah, ambient lighting, I guess, to it. And then lastly, one of the most important things in all of product lighting, in any software, not just Blender or Cycles, is light linking. And to be honest, I think I've never used it that much, but it's super crucial if you want to achieve like high quality product renders. And yeah, the way it works, if you don't know, is you have these light groups down here. And pretty much you, for example, like this light on the left, the whole purpose of this light is to brighten up the label. So if I remove this group, you can see it leaves this super ugly flat area on here that we had in the other render as well, this one. We don't want this because the whole purpose of this light is only the label. So we just select light linking and then we take the label group. Now we have the highlight and the label, but everything else stays the same, which is exactly what we wanted. And of course, this isn't 100% natural or like realistic, but this is one of the advantages you have when you use 3D, that you can cheat sometimes in ways that a normal photographer can. For us, we just create one light linking group in Blender and there we go, we have it. And yeah, I used it in multiple instances. For example, also the background. If I take this light up here and I remove my light linking, you can see we have this highlight on here, which we don't want. So I just add a light linking so that my light is only visible on the backdrop, and there we go, it's gone. And yeah, it's just super powerful. Yeah, it gives you more control over your lighting and your lights in general. And so you don't have to worry about like positioning the light in a way where it only shows up in the thing you want, because you can just remove it from the rest, pretty much. That's about it with the most crucial things. One more thing I want to really talk about is the glass and the droplets. The point of them, of course, for one is to make it look more enjoyable, to make it look more nice and fresh and cold and all that stuff. You get it. But at the same time, the purpose is also to break up like boring areas. So the lighting in this one isn't perfect. It was just another perspective. I didn't really adjust it, but you can see here, for example, we have all these little dots in areas that would otherwise just be fully black. Like, it would be pretty boring to look at, but now we have those nice droplets on here. And you can also, through the bottle, see the droplets on the other side. And just in general, this is a really nice way to add some more detail to your object. And what I also did is I added a ton of small bump details to the glass, like over here you can see as well. And these are really crucial to make your glass believable, since it really helps make this super flat, weird surface look more realistic. Because glass is never perfect, you can never look through it 100%. So I added a tiny bump detail, like probably in the total shot you can never even really notice it unless you look for it. But it's one of the things that you don't notice it when you look at it, but you really notice if it's not there. I would also always do this when I do like a bottle of glass, for example. I would add these tiny bumps. Yeah, I think those are like the majority of the tips I use for this one. I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned something. That's like my main goal here. I hope I taught you something new. So yeah, let me know in the comments if there's something you want to see. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, I wish you a nice day.